learn from every single interaction. Every single person that you meet has something to offer you. And that's not like you have to like ask them for their value, but the way people communicate, the way people engage with you, their life experience, the positive in an interaction, no matter how bad it is, you've learned something.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? This is Roy Uy, and welcome to episode 003 of Breaking Down a Business, right? Join me here as we interview everyday business owners and hear how they break down their business from success to strategies, tools, and their struggles and hardships, right? So stay tuned all the way till the end because there are definitely really good takeaways that you can learn and implement in your business today. So we have an amazing guest today on Breaking Down Business. We have Patrick Hageman, right? I believe I said that right. Hageman. I am so sorry.
No worries.
Hageman with Chiron Applied Health and Performance. He is a lifelong BMX rider, engineer turned entrepreneur, and a supporter of 1P. So thankful since literally day one of my Kickstarter way back when. So Patrick, welcome. Hi, how are you?
Thank you, Roy.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. I actually still have the compression from day one.
Stop.
It's still in the closet. I got rid of so many clothes and I was like, nope, we're hanging on to this one.
There's so much memories there. So much memories. That is awesome, man. Well, thank you again for coming on to the show. Can you tell us, your story on what you're doing, how we got here? How did Chiron evolve to where it is today? How long it's been here and just the journey, right?
Yeah.
Walk us through some of that.
So long story short, I was an engineer for 6 years. I had gotten into some really unhealthy habits. I was drinking pretty much every day and stressed to the gills. My wife got me, or girlfriend at the time, not wife, got me a session with a personal trainer. And she was like, oh, I think this could be helpful. Realizing now I was at 240 pounds, which was the heaviest I'd ever been in my life. So fast forward at the 1P campaign launch party, I met Gideon Akande, and from that day I was like, oh, you know what, I'm going to start going to his boot camps.
Yeah.
And after it was probably like an entire summer of going to his boot camps, I was like, this guy makes me want to be a trainer. Like, I think this could be really awesome.
Wow.
And again, I moved up in the company I was working for. I was the quality manager, and I was like, I just started training people. And also I had another mentor, Marcelino Riley, who is now, he started a non-for-profit called Pull Up the City, where he's building like calisthenics parks around the city. So I had kind of two amazing mentors that pushed me. And then my wife was like, hey, if it's time, like, do it. We don't have a house. We don't have a family. Quit your job. So I did it, and I started at Equinox. Fast forward now, we've got our condo. We've got 2 kids, 4 and 1. And
oh, man, little guys.
I worked for Equinox for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And then I was in a intensive, like a coaching intensive, and everybody in the coaching intensive was an entrepreneur. They were totally on their own, running their own business. And we read a book called Anti-Fragile.
Okay.
And I started assessing like the things in my life that were maybe fragilizing. And I realized that I think it's time to start my own business. So May 7th of last year, I left Equinox with the hopes of building something that could be mine and could be a family business. So we've been in business a little bit less than a year, but we're already growing, looking at adding employees and interns to really build out like a full-fledged coaching business.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. What was that leap like, and when did you know to take that initial leap from Equinox?
So actually the conversations in the beginning of the coaching intensive was like, we were talking about business strategy and perfect customer and how you actually like speak to that person. And we started talking about like, I'm trying to think of what the exact conversation, but it was like realizing that when I was inside of a gym, especially because I was in the loop and it was, the heart of the pandemic, people weren't coming into the loop.
Right.
Like there was no way for me to grow my business unless people came through the door of the gym. And if you walk around the loop, even today, it's still like a ghost town.
Right.
So I was listening to an interview, the Upgrade Guys podcast with Allison Tibbs, and she used the analogy of the highway. So, when you're on the highway, you see an exit and you're like, oh, I missed that exit, but it's okay. There's another one coming in the next 5 miles.
Right.
But now you're on a rural highway and the next exit doesn't come for another 30 miles. And so taking the opportunity, that 5-mile exit, to get it closer to where you want to go, I was like, oh man, if I don't do this now, I don't know if I'm going to do it. Like if the business starts to recover in the loop, I probably won't leave. And it wasn't that my business was doing bad. I just wanted to do more.
To do more and reach more people. That's what it.
Yeah. I wanted to help people.
See, I love it. I love it. So with just that, because obviously just starting off, and my whole thing with breaking down business is helping these, right? We're in the same boat, right? We want to help out as many business owners, young aspiring entrepreneurs of all ranges. What kind of tips, tools, tricks, strategies, just in general already, because how long have you been in business for?
So May 7th. So
right. You said that.
Yeah, we're coming up on a year. So probably about 8 months.
So 8 months, right, guys? See, look,
9 months.
Almost 9 months, right? Less than a year, right? He's nearing the 1-year marker. And he's gotten this far already. We're not saying to quit your job either, right? But, in those 9 months, someone in your field, what can you teach them, tell them, and what have you just, again, learned this far?
Yeah. I mean, as an entrepreneur, like having to learn how to run a business, the bookkeeping stuff, all of the back end stuff was probably more challenging than just continuing to run a training business. And initially, like I focused on building in my community in Evanston, just because I'm close up on the north side and there was restrictions as far as where I could be working. Mm-hmm. So I just worked on building my community and building my own value. So I was reading a ton. I had a mentor who was like working with me specifically on a coaching side to learn as much as I could about how to provide the most value possible to the person in front of me. So number one actually is like finding an attorney, finding an accountant, finding all of the things to like make sure that your processes, because I tried to do everything the absolute legit right way.
Right.
The last thing I wanted to do was like compromise my integrity or compromise potential income because I screwed something up that I didn't know I was screwing up.
For sure.
But then the number one thing, like, especially if you're new to fitness and trying to start your own training business, finding a mentor, finding somebody who's further along in our industry and knowing that there's somebody who provides a ton of value and who truly helps people so that you can learn the best processes and you spend less time worrying about, am I doing things right?
Absolutely. I am Keyhone. I love reaching out to people. And how did you find? I know you said was it a friend? Was it some that you like DM real quick, or like how did you find this mentor?
It's funny. I mentored him at Equinox when he was a brand new trainer, like 20 years old, 19 years old.
Wow.
And just like, so I kind of got him oriented to his value and how he interacts with his clients. And then he actually went off on his own a little bit earlier, but he went through, like, as far as the coaching side, he went through like a really deep dive into Westside Barbell. And so he spent a ton of time like interning at Westside, mm-hmm. which if you're familiar with Westside Barbell, like they are the foremost powerlifting gym in the United States. Like they are primarily responsible for the strongest people in the US. But they read. They read so much. They're reading every single strength and conditioning textbook. They're reading all of the Russian research. They're reading all, like, I mean,
Yeah.
now's a rough time to speak about, Russia in a positive way. But as far as the sports science goes,
Right.
like they are far and away ahead of everyone in terms of strength and conditioning. So he read every single strength training book, and he somehow managed to internalize and implement so much of what he's learned. And the way he speaks about it is so, he's wise beyond his years. So he's 20, I think 27 now.
Okay.
And like he is training and coaching some of the highest level coaches in our industry because he's that good.
Wow.
And so it was like, it doesn't matter how old someone is. He provided so much value in terms of like, even just the direction of like, these are the books you should be reading.
Right.
And
Simple.
as part of that intensive was reading Anti-Fragile, which was like.
And who is that by again? I've never heard of that book. So now I'm just like, I'm going to add it to my queue.
Yeah. It's Nassim Nicholas Taleb.
Okay.
And I mean, he dives into so many different things in that book. It's a lot of like, I mean, he even talks a little bit about strength training, but it's a lot about understanding that your opportunities, like creating optionality for yourself.
Yes.
And being able to like truly see a long-term upside, and knowing that there may be a little bit of a downside initially, but the downside, versus taking an immediate upside, not knowing what the downside is. And ultimately that opportunity ends up costing you more than it would help you. And the idea that you build your business in such a way that it's not robust in that, like, no matter what you do, it doesn't change. And it's not fragile in that, like, you make a mistake and it all falls apart, but it's actually anti-fragile. So every time something changes, your business continues to get stronger.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I call it the learning by growing, or you grow by learning. You learn by you fail. No, you're always, when I don't call it failure. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're always literally learning from the mistake. But I also have this big belief with the universe too, as well. It's like you kind of have to go through the hardships per se. I'm gonna say hardships, air quotes, because I think you were meant to learn something there,
right,
to move you forward.
For sure. And I think a lot, especially in my industry, and people who are at least familiar with strength training or even just like high level, intense anything.
Right.
The only way you get better is by doing it. Like paralysis by analysis doesn't help anything.
Right. No, and that's what's crazy. So like, again, for me, this is episode 003 with Breaking Down Business. And I'm over here telling myself the exact same thing you just mentioned, as far as like going to the gym. So this is like my gym. I'm like, this is new to me. This is definitely new to me, learning how to record the back end of YouTube, being consistent, right? But at the end of the day, it's also just showing up every day. And that doesn't just mean in the gym. It means in life, showing up every day, being prepared. With that said too, so what outside of the items that you mentioned, right, as far as like getting the back end stuff, what other tools? I'm assuming you're probably using other tools for coaching. I know you mentioned something about your accounting. Like, what software programs are helping you today?
So again, great advice from an amazing business person, Amanda Graziana. She is unbelievable trainer, absolutely brilliant. She turned me on to Vagaro. And so it's used by a lot of salons for scheduling, but it has been a really, really nice, like I use that for booking, for credit card processing, virtual services, because it integrates with Zoom. And then I manage my calendar and everything on there. So like you can on Vagaro. Yeah.
So what other programs were you looking at? And then you're like, Vagaro's the one. Did you test out? So again, I'm trying to go through, right? If I was in your shoes starting off, this is definitely a question like that I have. And someone who's in the personal training world, they're not thinking Vagaro because like what you said, it's more of a, this might be a little secret, guys. So check it out.
Yeah. No, I mean, so I had, because we had that group of entrepreneurs, I could be like, okay, what are you guys using? Right. And it was like, oh, I pretty much just use Google Calendar and Square. Mm-hmm. And like then, it's super, super common where people use Venmo. And then they're like, they're not setting it up as a business account. And then all of a sudden they're getting nailed for taxes. And it's just not as, so while Vagaro, like you have to pay credit card processing fees, like you pay for a lot of the features. The Zoom integration's free, but then you obviously need to pay for the Zoom upgrade. But it was all in one place. And so like rather than having to coordinate Google Calendar with Square, with Venmo, with all, so like Vagaro, credit card processing, booking, like virtual services, it all is in there. It all feeds back to QuickBooks. It integrates with your bank. So like all of it made it that part a lot smoother. And like there were certain things where I added every add-on I possibly, and then I was like, oh, I don't need that. I don't need that. Like, so trim it. Don't add all of the integrations right away because it's like a freemium kind of thing. Like, you pay the monthly fee, but then it's like everything else costs money too.
So again, a slow build, right? A slow ad, I would say, but also you did enough research to kind of test and run through it. Before Vagaro, did you use something else or did you try something else?
No, honestly, because I was still with Equinox before everything started. So like they had their whole like built-in system.
Okay.
All of their booking is done through the Equinox app and all of that. So like I never had to think about it before this. And so like up to the point where I was like, okay, and
we're doing going. This.
So I had already talked to the consultant at Vagaro, talked through kind of what I was looking to do. And then one of the coolest things about Vagaro is, say you wanted to create a new service level for a specific group of clients. Like I created an intro package.
Okay.
Once that intro period was up, you can take it down, but the clients can continue to renew that same rate rather than having to like create, like, leave it up on the website and then have people who are new clients down the road that you maybe don't want to offer that rate to.
Yeah.
They are paying one rate, but your old like legacy clients don't necessarily have to like re-up at a new rate or like have to, there's no confusion.
Right. No, this is awesome and amazing. So with that though, right? So now we have the back end, we got the lawyer, we got the bank, right? So we're hitting the checklist. There's like a little checklist that we have, but now comes the real question, right? It's like, all right, we need sales.
Right.
Well, and then go ahead.
One of the other tools to deliver.
Oh, there's more. Yeah, for sure.
No, so absolutely. This is the last one because I know I can be a little long-winded sometimes. But Train Heroic. So I don't know how familiar you are with Train Heroic, but that's how I deliver programming to my clients.
Perfect.
Because it comes with YouTube tutorials. It comes with links to things. You can explain things. You can give sets, reps, rating of perceived exertion. Like you can give so much, and then they can actually message you in the middle of their workouts if they leave comments on things.
Yep.
I get notifications. So whether it's a virtual client or somebody I see in person and provide programming for, like I get feedback all the time.
Right.
And so my clients never feel like they're on their own when they're doing things.
That is no, thank you again for sharing that tidbit, right? Because now it's a combination of everything. So you got the scheduling side, right? Scheduling, booking, processing. And then now you also have a platform with Train Heroic to make it be like, I am with Patrick 24/7. Right. Teach me. I want to hear your voice. So again, perfect segue. Thank you again for sharing those, especially for beginners coming into the fitness personal training world. And so again, like that leads straight into sales. Like how did you find your first few clients as well?
So the newer clients that I've gotten have actually been from referrals.
Okay.
So that's been the thing that I've been kind of working on, trying to figure out the right way to do a referral program and trying to figure out the right way to incentivize without it feeling salesy, because I've gotten some really good advice from actually the graphic designer that I used to update my logo, and he's actually working on a website for me. Um, Frankie Martinelli, so a big shout out to him. My original artist George Foles. Like I've worked with a lot of amazing people to
Right.
like bring my vision into reality. Um, but so he was like, people train with you because of you. Like there's 1,000 trainers out there, like probably even more just in the city of Chicago alone.
Right.
So the way you have to get people in is to show them who you are and why they would choose to work with you versus anybody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So like trying to figure out how to get that experience conveyed, and I try to encourage my clients without feeling like I'm pushing them to be like, hey, you need to help me build my business, because
Right.
that's just not how I work. I'd rather have 10 great clients than 100 people cycling in and out all the time. That's just kind of like, I prefer to build as much value for a small group of people rather
Yes.
than a little bit of value for a massive amount of people.
Yeah,
But
no, and I would probably say, right, because the only way that, so if I may, right,
mhm,
um, one sales, and this is like again the beginning part, and this is like I've been there. I started with one CrossFit gym, so then again, to me, it was like one CrossFit gym equals like one client, right? It's just,
right, right,
it's that same aspect, and then it's like you want to give so much, and then it's like how do you do it per se, right? So again, if I was, it's providing value, one, right? Especially what everything that you just said. But it's also being consistent too. So again,
right.
some of the stuff that you've been saying, and I know you're very active on your social media, right?
Yeah,
So
I try.
yeah, I would, me personally, right? And this is where again, I don't want to say I have the right answer either, right? But if I was in your shoes, the biggest thing that I've always learned is niching down.
Mhm,
So do you see how like I specifically said CrossFit client, right? So again, I do screen printing and embroidery. I could have said school, anybody who needs t-shirts.
right, right,
That's so broad,
right,
right? But then I was blessed and found CrossFit, right? Joined CrossFit, but I already had an apparel line at that time, hence the Kickstarter.
right,
And then my friend opened up a gym. I joined a gym. They're like, you do t-shirts. Can you design shirts for us?
right.
I was like, I could do that. So then that's where everything kind of started to unravel. And then Brian, my mentor, was just like, Roy, he's like, gym owners probably could use your services because they're wearing all the hats, right? And some people aren't creative, don't have the time to do it. Why don't you offer your services and help them? So then hence that's where I kind of pivoted and moved towards that. So again, my challenge to you per se, right? So actually, let's kind of also backtrack again. Tell us more about Chiron. I can't believe how we like kind of skipped through that. I'm like,
Yeah,
tell us what you do. Tell
yeah.
us what Chiron is. So let's kind of
So
backtrack real quick and then we'll jump back forward.
but it actually it flows really well into what you were just talking about. So I have a really hard time niching down because selfishly, I like to work with lots of different types of people. Like I have somebody who she is a really really amazing goalie for beer league hockey, and I partner with her trainer, and I provide like the mobility side of her programming. And so like it's fun to see uh, people who have a manifestation of the things that they're working on in the gym. Like that's the group of people that I really am trying to target. So it's not necessarily like high level athletes or Gen Pop, it's like people who have something that they do that they want to be better at. Because like it's not to say that weight loss goals and strength goals and all that stuff aren't valuable. People tend to lose motivation when they don't have a tangible thing that they can see the change in. And so it's hard for me to like grab that group of people because it's a big group of people, right? And it's like, it's selfish for me because I'm like, I like to work with lots of different types of people. But Chiron is the goal with Chiron Applied Health and Performance, and that's what I mean by applied, is that you have something that you see the results in regularly so that you can tie your program, everything we do in the gym, to something that you truly love. Because people lose motivation when it's just like, I just want to change something about myself.
Right.
And you're like, I understand. And that's an amazing, like, there's nothing inherently wrong with taking control of your life and trying to make sure that you are healthier down the road. But it's like, what's next? So you lost the weight. What do you do now? So Chiron Applied Health and Performance, the goal with what we do is to dig deep on what clients want out of life, and then figure out how to take the physical training, whether that's strength and conditioning, mobility, like cardiovascular performance, tie that into a holistic environmental reshaping so that they have no choice but to be successful. And I would like to do that, or my promise, and Chiron in and of itself, the way I came up with the name, Chiron is
I was about to ask you, I was like, where did you come up with this name?
So I've loved Greek mythology my whole life. It was basically the closest to superheroes that we got in school, which if you've known me for a while, like I like superheroes. I have a giant Spider-Man and Wolverine tattoo on my arm. But Chiron trained the heroes in Greek mythology. He was a patron of healers and educators. And so when I thought about that, I was like, I want to teach people how to take control of their life, of their strength, of the things that their environment, of everything that they can control. I want to educate. That is my promise to my clients, is I want to educate them how to take control of the path to their goals, so that even if they can't work with me for the entire foreseeable future, they can continue. They know what to do.
Right. So, okay. So with that, so the, I guess a way to think about niching down then for you, right?
Yeah.
Because you're taking that's like your values, right? Like, this is what I'm hardcore about. And so I've had knee issues from basketball, CrossFit, et cetera, tore my ACL, meniscus repair, all that fun jazz. And again, I'm trying to find either a quick fix, and everything else like that. And well, I didn't really find it per se. Right. But what I'm trying to get at is, so we have a mutual friend, Demir, right? So it's very similar to the Pails and Rails. Amazing. So I'm a huge advocate for the cars and the Pails and Rails. But what I'm trying to get at is, I was following this guy. I think his name's like Knees Over Toes guy, right? I don't know if you heard of him before.
Yeah.
So if you take a look at his backstory, right? Basketball player, right? And then he's like, hey, if you play basketball, or if you're coming from injury, let me help you retrain the proper muscle groups so that you could get back to what you love doing. Right. And then obviously within his videos, he's doing semi-basketball stuff. But again, it's like, here's my program. Here's how I help you get back so that there's less knee pain, and then obviously a progressions.
Right.
So that's what I mean by trying to find a niche or an area that you're also semi-passionate about, right? So again, what if it's the BMX world? What with like mobility, right? Mobility, strength, and now you're not like you're not going into basketball. Again, I don't know if you play basketball, right? And like, right, I don't know anything about basketball, right?
Yeah.
But you do know something about BMX, or you do know specifically something about being a father,
Mhm.
So that's what I mean by
Yeah,
my
like
suggestion
yeah.
of trying to find, all right, I know I want to help this group of people, but what if I specifically target fathers who want to become active or need a training regimen, X, Y, and Z? Let me help them in X, Y, and Z way.
No,
So that's
absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I kind of, I'll be honest, like with the social media stuff, I kind of lost sight of that. I had this grand vision of how I was going to do it when I first started. And social media in and of itself, like, and that's a bigger question that I wanted to dive into with
yes.
you in terms of like how you spend your time marketing and your like because time is money and you have to invest cash or time into however you're going to whatever strategy you're going to implement for a period of time. um so like how valuable is social media in like that you've actually seen transfer to real leads?
Oh my gosh. That is how I got to where I am.
Okay.
So I was so again I got my L1, so I'm a CrossFit certified. So again at that time I was still new. I was supposed to be a PE teacher. So didn't go
Yeah,
to
I
business
remember
school,
that. Yeah.
supposed to be a PE teacher. The crash happened. Still working in the restaurant industry. Shout out to Uncle Julio's. You know what I mean? And literally what ended up happening was because I fell in love with CrossFit and I was just like, and they were looking for a coach. I was like, well, I'm certified to be a teacher, a PE teacher. I'm like,
Right.
CrossFit's definitely very physical, physical activity. So I wanted to do everything and anything movement. So I got my L1 and there was a Facebook group, the CrossFit affiliate group owners, and I think L1 certs. So I was like, what if I open, which that also crossed my mind to open up my own CrossFit gym. So then this was just, again, a group of young entrepreneurs who worked a 9 to 5 per se,
Mm-hmm.
got into the CrossFit world and were just like, I'm going to quit and open up my own gym because I love CrossFit and I want to share, that. And so that's what kind of ended up happening was I got plugged in there because you're trying to surround yourself with that group. And when I had the t-shirt, when I'm starting 1P, I also had to, you don't want to, like what you were talking about, like the whole referrals, like you don't want to just like go in there and be like, buy my stuff, right?
Right.
Huge Gary V fan. You get, jab, 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 right hook. So if you keep right hooking, people are gonna be like, dude, who is this guy? Kick him out. You're not
Right.
providing us any value at all. So again, moving with that, my train of thought was that's how I kind of started was I found one gym, right? Did a bunch of different services for them. And then I also had to differentiate from every other screen printer out there in the CrossFit world. And so what was popping up at that time was they're like, we need custom shorts, right? Because they would get custom shorts, or not necessarily even custom shorts. They would get they wanted board shorts like Lululemon.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, like they wanted it branded, right? So again, that's screen printed or vinyl print.
Mm-hmm.
So because I had my Kickstarter and I learned about making compressions from scratch, I was just like, I think I can make shorts. I have the fabric, or I know the fabric. I know the process of building it from beginning to end. I
Mm-hmm.
had all the production aspects. I was literally running around sourcing things. And I created the first prototype within 6 months, had my friends in the gym test it out, added pockets and all this fun jazz. And then I gave it to, shout out to Noah over at Goose Island, gave it to Noah, and then he tested it out. And again, Noah was like this huge admin, like force in the CrossFit community and world, just provided so much value. And when someone asked, hey, does anyone do custom shorts? He tagged me, and literally it was similar to like a Tom story, right? Where it's
Right.
just like my phone just started blowing. I woke up the next day and my phone just started blowing up. That's what ended up happening. Someone in the affiliate page asked about custom shorts. Noah plugged me, and then it just went wildfire inside that specific group. So do you
Yes.
like, so that's what I
So
mean
that's
by
a
like social media is super, super powerful because these are guys all over global, right? But then also it obviously in the US in that sense. And so when they kind of went through the process, they met who I am. I started being even more active via social media, posting consistently, showcasing t-shirts, shorts, leggings, etc. That's when they got to know me, who I am, what I do. And then it just rapid fire into a bunch of different, obviously, referrals. But again, service is key.
yeah. So primarily in, like, again, a niche group, but
Right.
like a Facebook group, something like
Right.
that, where people are engaging and talking and having conversations around
Right.
that specific group. And then somebody randomly posts a question of like, hey, who does this? And you're like, or somebody was like, hey, this is your guy.
This, right. So then that's why I mean by like what you can do is because you're in Evanston, I bet you there are like Facebook groups in Evanston, just in general, like Facebook groups, Evanston, and then right like fitness or dads of Evanston.
That's actually, yeah. I'm
And
taking
it's
notes.
that it's no, this is, and this is what I'm like, again, this is, so again, that's why I love this, is because I'm like, I just get to throw out ideas, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm trying to think of ideas like what I would do
Yeah.
and kind of take my experience and like put a spin on it. And if you take it and run with it, amazing, right?
Yeah, for sure. So like I'm in a like an Evanston small business group.
Right.
And when I was teaching Kinstretch classes at Monarch Fitness Coaching, shout out to Heather because she's awesome. I was teaching Kinstretch classes there, and then we did like a 6-week trial, and things were good, but it was still like, that was my Kinstretch, which is the FRC kind of group version. That is my attempt, my foray into Gen Pop, because so many people enter real training through group fitness.
Mm-hmm.
So teaching the Kinstretch class was kind of my way of being like, hey, you like group fitness? Try this because it's different. And obviously I explained it better than that, and like
Right.
put up videos and all that stuff. But I think also that will be a really good value down the road, because people just are now starting to get back into the idea of going into an in-person group fitness class.
Right.
So that is kind of my value add and unique identifier for the community of Evanston, because I'm the only person who does that in Evanston. And so like I'm doing a functional range assessment on Chris Van Nostrand, who's a strength and conditioning coach in Evanston.
Right.
And so I've been helping him with his ankle, and on Monday I'm going to help him with his shoulder and his hip. So then it's kind of like building value in the coaches, so that I can then be the go-to person that they refer to for. Right now it's going to be primarily mobility things, because that's the thing that's so different than what most people are doing. But I like the idea, and it's something I don't even know why I didn't consider it, but it was just like the dads of Evanston, like dads groups. There's tons of moms groups. Like I'm willing to bet I can find a really good dads group.
Right. And so okay. So the way I'm looking at this, right, it's a pillar of wheel, right? Because in business, they always talk about like, what are your top 3 like sellers, right? So again, if I were to ask you in your specific business, right, what would be the top 3 revenue, and again, you don't have to break down by numbers, but maybe percentages, like mobility, it's actually 75% of my business. And then fitness and nutrition is 10%. And then this one is, so what's the breakdown?
That's a good question. I think it's probably like 50 to 60% is just like the fitness, nutrition, lifestyle coaching.
Okay.
And then it's probably from there, like 25 to 30% mobility stuff. And then the balance is just like so I did start, I am doing the strength and conditioning for the Loyola Academy rowing team.
Yes, I did see that. Congratulations.
Thank you. And that's been a really cool, foray into sport specific training. Like I'm such a dork when it comes to strength and conditioning. Like that's one of the things that actually, going back to kind of the things that about like getting really excited about what you do. Like, so as an engineer, I loved the problem solving. and we'll go back to the business side in just a second, but it's like, so I love the problem solving of it, but like the industry that I was in automotive, but bolts and screws. So I am also a certified fastener specialist, which, like, anyway, it's hard to be passionate about an industry that has basically existed in the exact same iteration since World War II.
Right.
And nobody wants to really do anything different when it came to quality. This side, there is so much to learn about strength and conditioning and anatomy and physiology and sport specific inputs. There's so much to drill down. And so it's exciting. Like, I do a book club every week with another coach where we read through strength and conditioning textbooks. And then we spent an hour talking about The Science of Hypertrophy by Brad Schoenfeld. Yesterday, we talked about chapter 1 for an hour. Just
question.
Yes.
Did you guys record it or?
No, we just take notes and talk about it.
Okay. See, so business idea, not necessarily business idea, right?
But an idea.
Because you guys are already, like, you just lit up. Like, I heard it in your, like, the expression came through the screen and smacked me in the face of the excitement. And then I got excited because, like, an idea popped up while you're already doing it. So it's little stuff like that you're like, that provides value and content.
For sure.
Right. So just by you with your buddy every week, and if you're already reading it, right? So you're already spending time, and then you spend an hour just discussing different chapters. That could be either a podcast, or again, just record it like on Zoom and be like, hey man, let's like record this stuff. And like, it could be the next Joe Rogan, right? Of fitness, because you guys are just talking and discussing. And again, you're probably not the only fitness enthusiast. You see what I mean?
Right.
So by providing value, because you, like what you said, you geek out just as much as I geek out on business, this is just like extra bonus. Right. You could like record it. It doesn't have to be fancy. And it's like chapter 1 of this book, and then put it on YouTube. Send.
That's a really, really good point. Like,
but it's
again,
it's
nothing
lowest,
that ever
I call it lowest
me.
hanging fruit, right? It's always the lowest hanging fruit. And it's like, what differentiates you without spending money?
Right.
Because your money is the time.
Right, for sure. No, that's an awesome idea. And I think I'm curious as to how he would feel about that, but I feel like this dude. So Phil Kurth, he's a TRX coach at Equinox.
Yeah.
Like, he is another person who has really truly tried to master his craft.
Right.
And like, our goal is to take all of this high level strength and conditioning literature and research and figure out how to apply it for Gen Pop, because nobody researches Gen Pop.
So
yes,
it's called social media. It's called TikTok. It's called YouTube. People are searching, like legit searching.
Yeah.
And as crazy as it sounds, because again, we grew up in this generation of like, no, you got to do the homework. You got to do this. It's like, no, I actually want to be read to now. Right.
Yeah.
As crazy as like I get read to by Audible.
Right.
I'm like bougie now.
Oh, I love Audible.
Read to me.
I don't have time to pick up a book.
I don't have time for that. But again, I would highly recommendation. Right. So again, simple stuff that's kind of going through, because I know we're all busy, so that would be like another little nugget for you, sir.
For sure, dude. That is an awesome idea. Like, especially because he also has an amazing personality and it's extremely entertaining. So when the two of us get onto a conversation, we're dorking out about it, but then it's also, I mean, for me, it's very funny. So I think I'm really curious as to see how he would feel about that, because I'm excited about the idea.
Right. And again, it's there's so the question that you have to ask him is, well, aren't we doing this anyways?
Yeah. If we're having the
I'm that guy on TikTok.
might as well. Yeah.
Are you doing it anyways?
I love that dude. He's so funny.
But yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So what else? Okay. So again, so this part of our little I just love it. Like what other questions that's kind of like going through your head with sales, marketing, etc., that you have that I could kind of like weave through or provide some little clarity as well. So yeah, what other questions that you may have?
Um, so there's a lot of great questions, and I know we only have a little bit of time.
Right, right.
So
We'll
one,
we'll go last question here. As
yeah,
like I would love to have
yeah,
you back, right?
for
And
sure.
like, 6 months or a year, right? Just to kind of like, where are you at now?
Right,
Type
right.
thing. So
Um, so one big thing I wanted to give to you is kudos. The people that you've hired in terms of like your branding reps have been awesome. Like Rachel was amazing from day one.
yes.
Super engaged, very quick to respond. And like, so huge shout out to 1P because I am working on my first production run of my clothes, my Chiron Applied Health and Performance
Hey.
t-shirts and hoodies and stuff through you, which it's kind of cool to be able to support your business with your Kickstarter being the impetus for my new career.
Thank you.
But
Thank you for the
so
support.
when you decided to kind of create your own production facility, house, all of that stuff, like what was the process like in terms of like small business loans? Is there a bank that you found easier to work with than others? Like, I know it's a big question, but like, 5,000 foot overview.
Right. Well, to me, because then my question to you, and I will answer that question, is what's the big question that you're trying to find out with
So
your question?
one of the things that I would really like to do is open up a studio that I feel can satisfy like people who are curious about the gym and truly want to learn without feeling like they need to walk into a big box gym, or even like because there's no jab at CrossFit, but it can be pretty intimidating when you
Right.
first walk into a CrossFit box because it's like heavy metal or rap playing at full volume, and it's a bunch of barbells and some racks, and you're like, okay, go.
I love it.
Right? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong.
No,
Like,
yeah.
I would love to jump in and like, but that's me. Like, I love
Right.
this stuff. So to have a facility that is warm and welcoming and community minded, but also has the opportunity to like grow to the point where people can do stuff like that. Like,
Right.
I'm not an Olympic lifting coach. So
Right.
like, I'm not going to have somebody throw weight over their head because I don't coach that. Like, I am not good enough at it, and I've not spent the time on it to learn it. So I'm not going to have stuff like that. But like having the balance of machines with squat racks, with some baseline cardio equipment, like it doesn't have to be crazy big or fancy, but I want it to be like a good, holistic, and honest gym.
Okay. So so many things are running through my head, right? Um, and I think it's also a question that you kind of have to reflect on. And
Yeah,
the only
yeah,
reason why I could kind of say this is one, through experience, right?
yeah,
That's why
yeah.
we're here. And then two, gaining enough knowledge, right? So I don't know if I told you this or not, but in 2020, I was blessed to be a part of the 10,000K small business program through Goldman Sachs. So it
Okay.
was literally like an expedited business school, right? MBA-esque style, right? And a lot of it is looking at your numbers, knowing your numbers, right? And the only reason why I say that as well is because as we talked, I too wanted to open up my own CrossFit gym. And
Right.
so it goes back down to knowing your numbers, the breakdown, and what it would take to open the doors, right? With having. So my first few recommendations, there's a great book. His name is Chris Cooper. I have like all three of it. And it says like, I think it's like Grow Your Gym. Yeah. Chris Cooper, amazing guy. So again, I'm not, and yes, is it CrossFit related? Yes. But the information that he has, that he provides there, is the questions you're literally asking. How
Right.
do
Right.
I open up a gym.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then he kind of walks through. And again, so since I don't have a gym per se, but I kind of do know the business aspects and the business strategies and the cost that it does take.
Right.
So that's why my question to you, when you're thinking about which route or which path that you're kind of going through, is to ask yourself, do you want to be a gym owner? So that's different from being a personal trainer,
Right.
right? Because then it's you're owning, or you're still renting a space potentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
But who's running the day in, day out operation side? Because as you know it, gym owners, they start off coaching, but there's so much time in a day that you could only teach and coach so much.
Right.
And then, not saying that you're not passionate about, but then that's why gym owners would then bring in other coaches to now coach, because they actually now have to run the business side.
Right. They have to run the day to day. You don't get to coach as much.
Exactly. So that's what I mean by like, these are the questions that I can't answer, but I could ask you for you to kind of like think about, because then that's that whole trickle effect of like, I would, get a Google Excel sheet, even just Google search of like expenses on opening up a small studio. And you're like, holy crap, I didn't realize that it could cost $60,000. You know what I mean? And again, like what you were saying, is surrounding yourself by other people who have or haven't. So again, shout out to Gideon. I believe we'll have him on the show hopefully soon. But again, Gideon does he does training, but I think he just started his channel, but it's like at the convenience of their own home or his own home.
Right.
So that's what I mean by like knowing which route you want to go to, because they still could get Gideon on their phone. And even if he's at home and they want to train with him, like what you were saying, they train because of you, not because of the space or studio.
Right. No, and that's with the initial part of the way I've been starting the business, I've actually been very intentional about the spaces that I'm choosing.
Yeah.
So like trying to make sure that I'm choosing like small businesses, trying to choose, like I've chosen specifically minority owned businesses because I want to make sure that I'm investing the money that I can into communities that ultimately like they could use the support, right? This is stuff that like I'm truly passionate about, and trying to, so like the studios that I'm working in now, and like the facility idea is kind of down the road for me,
right?
For the time being, I'm trying to build the community in Evanston through the studios that I'm working with, and then in Chicago I've got like a studio that I work out of there, and I usually do mornings in Chicago, afternoons in Evanston, and then I have practice with the Loyola team.
Right.
So that's kind of how it's been structured. But one of the things that I love about the idea of a facility or the idea of building a business, like I want my business to be so robust that I can afford to help communities who can't afford me. Like Dr. Moses Bernard has a practice down in Florida, and his model is you either pay 100% or you pay none.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can pay for it, you pay for it. But if you can't pay for it and you still need the help, like I'm here. And so that's something that I truly want to be able to do. And I think like you said, I might not be able to do it to the extent that I want if I open my own gym, because my time will then be divided. But then to the other point you made, building a community of coaches that feel the same way that I do.
Right.
Who
and then
truly want to help.
Right. So then my other part too that popped in my head, because when you said you want to help out as many different communities. So if you have a stagnant, stationary place, right? You're definitely helping, right? But your outreach can also be capped. Let's take a look at the CrossFit methodology. Started out in California at a ranch. 10 plus years later, global.
Right.
So the teachings, the methodology, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's where you want to also kind of take a look at. And I know you we were kind of talking already, and you mentioned about like passive income of how to do X, Y, and Z. And so right now, like in your stage, because you are still early, like
Yeah.
this is me trying to teach you, right? Like finding that group where it's now that, because again, you got to feed the family, you got to pay the bills, food on the table is like obviously a top priority, right? And so what you're also mastering during your journey is the business, right? The business side, but also communicating and finding that area of, all right, this is what if it is, you know, the FRC and all the mobility stuff, because no one's really doing that.
Right.
So like, and that could become something. So again, you know, for me, it is also dabbling, but also, and if I was in your shoes, I'm like, man, lowest hanging fruit. Like I frugal with how much money I'm trying to spend too at the same time, because that's where that risk is. So that's why I'm like, I love the phone, right? And the easiest, fastest way, right? Similar to the Train Heroic guy, the knees over toes guy, was I was paying a subscription. And so you don't need a studio space. They get you, but you're finding a specific area to help them. And then now it's just continuous growth. And that's just like one area.
For
so
sure.
Again, finding, you know, different ways of speaking to like the clients that are speaking to you now. I'm like, I wonder if I made a course on hip mobility. Dude, actually, I would probably want that. Why? Because I golf and I have terrible hip mobility, right? So then if you're like, hey guys, if you're a goalie, a catcher, right?
Yeah.
Anyone who's like using their hips and X, Y, and Z, and a golfer, boy, do I have a 6-week program for you that will help you increase your mobility, your strength, and these certain exercises.
Yeah. It's specific, and that I think that's, to your point, like being it's so easy being a small business owner and a dad and a husband. Like it's so easy to just get stuck in the day to day and just like keep doing the things every day, and ultimately by the end of the day you're like, okay, well, I didn't really move forward on the things that I really wanted to move forward on.
Right.
I think to your point, being able to focus and like nail one thing really well initially, and then like, but build from there, but build value quickly.
But focused. So here's the thing. You think that I was just like, Roy, you were very specific. I said hip, and then I literally named 3 sports. Baseball. Yeah. So that's like, again, I'm like, I'm it's like, it is, but it isn't, you know, direct.
Right. No, that's a good point. It's like it's a bigger community, but a specific offering to a bigger community. Yeah.
Right. Because you're like, they do need help with.
Right.
And so again, you could take your one of your clients, right, the goalie, and now and then you do a live Facebook, yada yada, whichever, Instagram, and you're kind of going through the motions. And anyone who's in hockey, they don't have to be a goalie. They could be like, I need that program. My hips suck. So all the things, all the emotion that they're carrying, she's going to be like, you guys got to go see Patrick. I've seen him for 6 weeks. I did his program. And so again, remember how you asked about sales,
right,
marketing, referral? You can't put a dollar amount on when somebody's like, you got to go to this person. Right. And you kind of already had a tidbit of it. Like, yeah, right. I do get referrals. But now I'm like, this is how you scale it.
Right.
And by creating a specific program, you get to now learn and find, hey, anybody. And again, you could probably, again, go to Loyola. So finding these groups, be like, I'm already helping out the rowing team. What's going in my head is, can I create a program, mobility? And I feel like what you're really good at too is like the mobility and talking about that. And again, that's a huge thing because we're getting older. I'm getting older, and I'm like, man, these don't stretch like they used to, right? So I'm not calling it yoga either, right? But it's like a different aspect, and I think you got something there. All right,
for sure.
So with that, man, time is here. All right. So we gotta close it out. We could talk. We could continue to talk, man. This is awesome. This has been really good. This has been really good.
And you helped a ton. Honestly, you've given me a lot to think about, even in just a short time, and like a lot of things that I can quickly take action on. So I appreciate that.
That's what I'm like. And so again, for you, not like, again, I'm not saying like, I'm not trying to push down your dreams of having your own studio, but like for me, again, it's strategy of like lowest hanging fruit. What can you do now? And what can you build without so much upfront cost? Because the knowledge is already there with you. So I always end. So this is a little surprise. I always end the episode. I'm like talking like I have 100 episodes. I'm like, I always end the episode. So I have these rapid fire fun questions right at the end. So what I need from you is first thing that pops in your head type responses. All right. Okay. So here we go. Question 1. One thing you can never live without.
Coffee.
What do you do to manage your mental health?
BMX.
What is your current obsession?
Anime.
Ooh. Which one specifically?
So right now I'm watching Naruto.
Yes.
But until like as a kid, I always was intrigued by it. Yes. But because you could never get the next episode, like it was never a guarantee that you would actually see what happened in whatever they were building to.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't get into this.
Yeah.
And now on Netflix, where I can go, like I've watched the first season of Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, 7 Deadly. I've watched so much, and it's just the iPad just follows me around the house as I'm cooking or cleaning or doing other things. Like, yeah.
Have you? Sorry, and then we'll get back to the question.
No, that's fine.
My Hero.
I've not watched it yet, but that is one of the next ones.
Add it to your queue. I will say, big fan, big fan. All right. The best gift you've received.
I gotta say that first personal training session. Like, if it hadn't been for Kai Seichow, he was at Lifetime in Vernon Hills, like realizing how far I had fallen, but also just like that there's a path out of where I was.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, if my wife likes to say that she created a monster, because like in that first couple sessions, like I didn't fall off. I kept going. Like, even through periods of like low motivation, like I have not stopped working out consistently for the last, I was 25. So 9 years.
Yeah. Wow. Shout out to Donna.
Yeah. Fit Mama Donna. She actually just got her personal training cert during lockdown, and she is offering personal training, specializing in moms. And she's also working on some education for breast cancer recovery.
And I love it. So there it is. So great. We'll add those. We'll add all those IG social media handles with that as well. And the last question for Mr. Patrick: what's a good rule you've learned from someone?
Man, that's a really good question. God, that's such a, I mean, learn from every single interaction. Every single person that you meet has something to offer you. And that's not like you have to like ask them for their value, but the way people communicate, the way people engage with you, their life experience, you have so much to learn from every single person. Like, the positive in an interaction, no matter how bad it is, you've learned something.
Oh, I absolutely love that. That is amazing. Wow, way to close it out. Patrick, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, right? Super thankful for you to be on the show, share all your insights. I can't wait to see what's ahead for you. If you have been listening or watching wherever you are in the world, please make sure to share your biggest insights, comments below, give us some likes. The goal this year is to try to get, 1,000 subscribers. That's a big ask. I think I'm at 5 maybe, but hey, you got to start somewhere, right? It's like hitting the gym, going back. You just got to keep showing up. But yes, Please let us know your biggest key takeaways. What else you would like to learn from this channel. Please also even follow Patrick as well. We're gonna list all of his social medias in the description below. So if you guys have any questions on his business, how he started, etc., please reach out to us. We are here to help you and guide you through your entrepreneurial journey. So till next time, guys, on Breaking Down Business.
Thank you, Roy.